Straight You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of wait for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic, we're going to talk about the rewards of focus. Now, before we get into that, let me tell everyone, I have a daily motivation text message that I send out free of charge every single day to everyone who is in my text community. You can get that text by sending the text to my number, which is 305-384-6894. And I will tell you up front that I have a 30 Days to Discipline course that everybody who is listening to this show should be enrolled in and taking within 30 days. You are less than 30 days away from having the focus to follow through on everything that you start, to make sure that you step up your level of consistency and you actually get things done instead of just saying you're going to get things done. That's all in my 30 Days of Discipline course. Again, within 1 month, you will step your discipline game up, your consistency game up, which is, I know, a big challenge, because everybody who comes into my text community, I ask them, what's your biggest challenge? 85% of the responses are something around discipline, follow through, and consistency. So go to workonyourgame.com/30. That's workonyourgame.com/30 and get started in my 30 Days of Discipline course. You sign up for the course while you're listening to me right now. Again, that's 30 Days to Discipline. Now, topic, the rewards of focus. Let's get first a definition of this word focus, because I talked about focus in so many episodes of this show, I can't even list them all. Most recently, I talked about what should be your number one focus in the year 2022. That was in episode 2062. In episode number 2010, identify problems but focus on solutions. In episode 1754, mastering the paradox of success, which is a shortcut for purpose and focus. If you want to have more purpose in life, purpose and focus, listen to episode 1754. Episode 1693 tells you the best thing to focus on the year before, 2021. Episode 1566, how to step up your focus by having a short memory. Episode 1543, how to focus your greatness. So I talk about focus a lot. I'm not going to list the rest of them. There's so many of them. But you can find every episode in the history of the show by going to workonyourgamepodcast.com. But the definition of the word focus is the center of interest or activity. Focus is one of our 5 forms of investment that are covered in episode 609, along with time, money, attention, and energy. I want you to think about the highest performing people who you know of or have heard of. I just recently finished reading, from when I'm recording this book called Tiger Woods by Armin Katayan. I think it was 2 people who wrote it. It was Katayan and somebody else. But in this Tiger Woods book, one of the things about Tiger and we know Tiger has had his successes and one of the greatest golfers of all time. He also had his challenges. But one of the things about Tiger as a golfer that was mentioned many times throughout the book, not only by the authors, but also by Tiger himself at some points, but also his peers and his competitors, people he competed against as a golfer, was that the guy had the ability to focus like no other golfer. Not only was he talented as a golfer, not only was he skilled as a golfer, but also he had this very, very sharp focus that allowed him to perform at the level that he did so often, to become as great as he did, even if he might have even been able to be better had he not had some challenges. He had some physical challenges, he had some mental challenges, he had some life challenges, but he was still pretty damn great. Because one of the main reasons was because he was able to focus his talent and skill, not just having the talent and skill. A lot of people have talent and skill, but their inability to focus, they never are able to squeeze as much juice out of it as someone like, let's say, a Tiger Woods. Michael Jordan. I heard he did an interview with Cigar Aficionado. Michael Jordan's a big cigar guy. A lot of people don't know that. But I was in a car dealership, and they had a bunch of magazines on the table, and one of them was a cigar magazine, and Michael Jordan was on the cover of the magazine. So I read the article, but then it said there's an interview, and it's on YouTube. So I went and looked it up on YouTube, and I watched the interview of Jordan talking. And one of the things that a lot of the interview was about cigars and life and stuff like that. It wasn't all about basketball. But the guy interviewing him, I think he was the editor-in-chief of the cigar magazine. He's interviewing Jordan. And he asked Michael Jordan, comparing yourself to the players today, something around Jordan's era to the players who play today. And Michael Jordan said, in part, and I'm paraphrasing him, he said, the level of focus that I required of myself when I was playing, it would be unfair to demand that of the players who play today. He said the players today are totally different. And he didn't really go into detail because, again, the interview was not really about basketball. But I get what he was saying. Like, the era that we live in today, there are a lot more possible distractions than there were back 25, 30 years ago. There just are more things to do, especially when you're a famous person, than there were back in Michael Jordan's era. On top of the fact that the players today, you could be 20% of the player that Michael Jordan was, and you're making 10 times the money that Michael Jordan was making, at least from basketball, specifically from his contract, and you only had to be as good as Michael Jordan. So you have a lot more options on your hands than Michael Jordan had back then. Even though Michael Jordan was making a lot of money back then, even by those standards, even by today's standards, what Michael Jordan made in the 90s was a lot compared to today, not even inflation adjusted. The whole point is, Michael Jordan was saying, I demanded so much focus of myself, and it's one of the main reasons why I was the player that I was. Kobe Bryant, another example. Steve Jobs, another example. And hopefully you are another example. What we're going to discuss today, are the benefits of narrowing your focus to the things that you wish to be great at, and why this matters so much. Another episode that I want to make sure I refer you to is episode number 1193. Focus is the force multiplier. If you have not heard that episode, listen to episode 1193. If you listen to only one other episode from everything that I mentioned here, you should listen to every episode that I reference here so you can get the full game, not just bits and pieces of it. That's another focus challenge for a lot of you these days, is that people just want to get the 2-minute clip instead of getting the full game. And this is the exact reason why you're not getting the outcomes you want, because you're trying to shortcut things. Listen to episode 1193 on top of all the episodes that I just referenced to you earlier in this episode. Now listen to everything I'm going to say here today. Point number one. Topic again is the rewards of focus. Number one, skill and talent levels, along with resources that are available to each of us, those vary. They can vary. Right? We can all agree that everybody has different levels of skill, different levels of talent. Everybody has different amounts of resources. All right, that we all on the same page with that. Okay. We all have different levels of ability. But one thing that we have in common is that when we put our full focus into something, we get as close to our potential as humanly possible. This is what I want you to remember. Since our ability levels are different, meaning your potential is different from somebody else's. Your potential might be at 85, somebody else's potential is only at 60. Somebody else's is at 20. Somebody else's is 100. But when you put your full focus into something, you give yourself the best possibility of reaching your full potential, whatever that may be. The reason why many people don't reach their potential or even come close to it is not because of a lack of skill or a lack of talent, which is the common excuses that people give. What keeps people from getting there to their highest levels of potential is a lack of focus. They never get focused, and they don't stay focused to allow focus to become a force multiplier, like I said in episode 1193. In other words, people try to do too many things at one time. And the world we're in today is designed to have you doing too many things at one time. Now, you may be wondering, Dre, how many things is too many? Any more than one is too many. If you're trying to do more than one thing at a time, you're doing too many things. Why is this? Because the human brain can only focus on one thing at a time. So if you're trying to do two things, you're doing too many things. Everybody got it? Any questions on that? Okay, good. The deeper you can focus on one specific thing and maintain your focus on that thing, the higher the likelihood that you will maximize your output and achievement in that space relative to your abilities and potential. I need to say that sentence again? I need to say it again. The deeper you can focus on one specific thing and maintain your focus on that one thing, not two, not five, one thing, the higher the likelihood that you will maximize your output and achievement in that space relative to your abilities. In other words, get as close as possible to your potential. This idea is why Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. Why Kobe Bryant, Steve Jobs, Tiger Woods, amongst many other people, became who they were, not just because of their resources, talents, and abilities, but because they were so focused on maximizing their resources, talents, and abilities. You have resources, talents, and abilities, but because you're trying to do all these different things at the same time, you're not getting the most out of any of them. All of these people that I'm mentioning were singularly focused on one specific thing and being the best at that thing. This is exactly what Michael Jordan said in the cigar interview. My focus was only on being the best player that I could possibly be. He was not focused on anything else. He was not focused on endorsements, even though he had them. He wasn't focused on, building a brand. He wasn't focused on being a global icon. He wasn't focused on social media. It wasn't any social media. He wasn't focused on anything else. All he was focused on was being the best possible basketball player that he could be and being the best in the world at it. And that's why he was so great. There were other players who had potential that could rival Michael Jordan's, but we don't know that they could ever get close to it because they never got that focused on it the way Michael Jordan was. And this requires you making a commitment. This is a commitment. You got to go all in on it, not knowing where it's going to take you. Michael Jordan didn't know it was going to take him where it took him when he decided to get focused on it. But because he went all in, he was able to find out. Many people never find out because they never get that focus. Main reason people never get close to reaching their potential is because they lack focus. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is the rewards of focus. The focus comes first and the rewards come as a result. This is what I just explained this with Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, Steve Jobs. You put the full focus in first and you get the rewards second. Many people hear something like what I said in the first point and they agree on it ideologically, yet they are unwilling to put this level of focus into anything until or unless they get a certain level of results. And here's where most people fail, right here. See, it's not on the idea, logically accepting that you got to put your full focus into something to get the most ROI out of it. Everybody logically accepts that point, right? Everybody accepts that. You put full focus into something, you can get the most out of it you possibly can. You can squeeze all the orange out of that, squeeze all the juice out of that orange. But many people aren't willing to make that kind of commitment into anything until they are sure it's going to produce a certain result. They need a guarantee. Many people need a guarantee on results before they make a full commitment into the thing. And this right here is the reason why many people come up short. It's not because you don't understand what I said in point number 1. It's because you are unwilling to invest in anything until you are sure it's going to work. Well, guess what? That ain't the way life is set up. And this is the reason why so few people are ever able to even sniff their full potential. Because you want a guarantee. Guarantee doesn't come before commitment. All right, not even in the dictionary. Commitment comes first, guarantee comes second. People are unwilling to put a full focus into anything until they know they're going to get results. And then after they know they're going to get results, then they get focused. All right, well, tell me where in life you can get a guarantee of results before you put the work in, before you put the time in. Tell me where in life that happens. Nowhere. See, the problem with that approach is that it's an inaccurate formula. This is one of the inaccurate formulas that people have in life of thinking that something needs to work one way when it's actually the other way. I told you about the 4 worst inaccurate formulas you've been taught in episode 2163. And I also talked about how to operate by accurate formulas in episode 2154. Choosing to focus on something and going all in on it, buying into it deeply, pushing all your chips into the middle of the table, and in that specific space, oh yes, this is a risk. In case you were wondering, is this a risk? Yes, it is. Because you're putting all this stuff on the line with no guarantee that it's going to work. It requires you jumping in with both feet. And this is the reason why many people never reach their potential. Because they don't want to do that. They don't want to jump in until they know they're going to get a result. They're unwilling to fully commit until they know they're going to get a certain outcome. But understand something. Choosing to focus on something and going all in on it, buying into it deeply, pushing all your chips into the middle of the table, that risk requires you jumping in. Is a reason why people don't reach where they want to reach. But understand, even in the dictionary, commitment comes before results. Like I said, commitment comes before guarantees. You got to commit first. People who have the courage to make the commitment are the ones who make themselves eligible for the result. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, we're talking the rewards of focus. Number 3, when you are fully focused on something, this is when the ideas, the insights, and the resources that you will need to make the most of your opportunities, that's when they reveal themselves. In other words, you are not going to get all the resources and ideas and the lucky breaks that you need to reach your full potential until you decide to go all in on something. Until you go all in, none of that stuff reveals itself. So when you see people who go all in and they seem to be getting lucky, everything seems to be working in their favor, they're getting all the breaks that they need. The reason why they're getting them and you're not is because they're fully committed and you ain't. These elements only reveal themselves to people who are fully focused on a specific thing, because you have to be fully focused to even notice them, to take advantage of them in the first place. See, there are advantages that are available to you, but you will never see them. They won't show themselves to you because you're not committed yet. When you're fully committed to something, you start noticing stuff that you wouldn't notice if you weren't fully committed. This is the game. This is why investing in yourself matters so much. See, when someone is fully invested into something and you paid for it, you start paying attention. And you start paying attention at a level that cannot be replicated by anything other than your full commitment. And when you're fully committed to something, you start noticing stuff that you otherwise just would never see if you weren't fully committed, because you aren't all in. So when you see someone who's fully focused on something that you haven't fully committed to yet, there's a reason why their stuff they seem to be getting all this luck and you're not, because they're committed. So if you would like to get lucky, first of all, you got to be outside, meaning you got to be where things are happening, an area in which you have chosen to focus. If you have not chosen an area of focus, that's a clue as to why luck is eluding you as well. See, all of this stuff comes with focus. When you're fully focused on something, that means you'll make a full commitment. Because, I mean, you're not paying attention to anything else, so what else are you going to commit to? You might as well commit to this since you're fully focused on it. You'll make a full commitment. Because you are fully committed, you will take steps and take actions that you otherwise would not have taken. And because you are fully committed, you're going to start noticing things, and things will start making themselves available to you that otherwise would not be available, simply because you're all in. This is just the way that life works. All right, this is not a Dre thing. This is a life thing. I'm just translating it for you so that you can understand it. I'm putting it in everyday terms so that you can understand it. No, but I didn't invent this one. There's some things I talk about on the show that I did invent. This one I did not. I'm just giving it to you in a way that you can get it, a bite-sized way that anybody can understand this and apply it, if you are willing to do it. I mean, if you are willing to grab your balls and actually go all in on something, few people ever do. This is the tragedy of potential, wasted potential. And it's why the most valuable real estate in the world is the graveyard. I talked about this in episode 468. Most people take their potential to the graveyard with them because they never get fully committed and fully focused on anything for long enough to get the ROI out of it. So you die with most of your talent still inside of you. Tragic. Well, let's recap today's class, which is the rewards of focus. Focus is defined as a center of interest or activity. I was reading this book about Tiger Woods, and one of the things that everyone around him said, that this guy just had the ability to really, really get focused, deeply focused, through anything, through pain, physical pain, through emotional pain, through mental pain, through challenges from other golfers when he was in golf tournaments. And this is one of the reasons why he was so great, because of his focus, not just his talent. Most people pay attention to the talent, but it was the focus that allowed the talent to show. Point number one, skill and talent levels vary amongst people, but everyone has the ability to focus and the potential to focus. And the closer you want to get to your potential, the more you got to get and stay focused, because focus is a force multiplier. The longer you can stay focused on something, the better you can pull your talent out of you. Number two, focus comes first, rewards come second. Many people hear something like what I said in point number one, and logically you agree with what I said, but people are unwilling to go all in on anything until they know they're going to get results. Results do not come before commitment, neither does a guarantee come before commitment, not even in dictionary, so you got to make some choices. Point number three, when you're fully focused on something, this is where the ideas, insights, resources, all the stuff that you want, all that stuff happens when you get fully focused and you go all in on something. This is the reason why I tell you to invest in yourself. Why? Because human beings have an emotional connection to money. When you financially invest in something, because you're emotionally connected to the money, now you are emotionally committed to the thing that you invested money in. And when you get emotionally committed to something, you start noticing things, and things start noticing you that otherwise you never would have connected with, simply because you are all in and you are investing in things. There's a reason why I told you that you need to invest in yourself. Talked about it in episode 106, talked about it in episode 1482, talked about it in episode 1403, talked about it in episode 1257, I talked about it in episode 1222. I talk about it all the time, investing in yourself, because when you invest, you are in. And when you pay attention. This is the way that it works. Most people don't pay attention, thusly they can't get focused, simply because they never go in on something. You're dabbling in all these different things. You're going an inch wide and a mile. You're going an inch deep and a mile long, and that's not going to work. I talked about this in episode 1254. If you want to go deeper into the thing that you're doing, you got to get all in. You got to go an inch wide and a mile deep. Most people never do that. And again, this is why most people die with a whole bunch of talent and opportunity and potential inside of them. Do you want that to be you? That's the question you could answer. All that said, text me to get my daily motivation free of charge to your phone. My number is 305-384-6894. And get my daily motivation, not my daily motivation, my 30 Days of Discipline course by going to workonyourgame.com/30. Work on your game. Dre all day.